my name is Lena and I am a hypocrite. I could give you more of an introduction, but yep, if you haven't watched my channel before, I think that's pretty much about it. While I've always been aware of the damage we're doing to the planet, I had my biggest climate revelation in Iceland, in front of a glacier, which I flew to. There's a video about that up here if you'd like to watch it. But there's inherently embedded in all of us, and especially living in the society we do, are hypocrisies, little and big things that we do that contradict our instinct to survive, our instinct to have gumption, to be shrewd and spirited, to look at the facts and be like, here's the thing, we can't keep buying mascara in plastic tubes. This is a series called A Guide to Positive Panic where I face those hypocrisies and I look at all the different ways that I process the climate crisis and why that is. And one of the ways that I think most best displays that is my house. Not just the small petty ways of not having a fridge that's only exclusively full of vegan food, but also in the symbolic ways, like the ways that when I look at my wallet, what does that symbolise to me? What does that symbolise about my choices? When I look at the pictures on my wall, what am I choosing to think about all the time? What are the stories behind the objects that I literally spend my whole life around? If there's a phrase that's like, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with, what does that mean about the physical objects that I spend the most time with? And what does that mean about me? I think there's an argument. I've made videos before about eco tools and like swapping out what you have for what you could have. And I think there's an argument to be made there that's just like, in a big way, what we urgently need is government mandated emergency. We need industry overhaul. We need legislation. And while that is true, I think there's so many conversations to be had around the small parts of that world that ends up in my house, in my 380 feet flat. And I also think when I have an object that does reflect my values, that does show me what is most important to me, it reminds me, it kind of immerses me in this world that's just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that used to be different and now it's not because you changed your mind. You made a commitment that you constantly fail at, but you still made the commitment. I often find that when I talk about eco swaps, it can lead to bigger conversations with my friends around what we value, how we spend our money, what we consider expensive, how we research who gets what from our money, to us what makes a thing truly valuable. And while I'm in lockdown, I'm constantly surrounded by these small symbols of my life. It's made me want to know more about the objects that I just have no idea about, whether they're good or bad or how they could be different. The crisis of climate is also a crisis of information and a crisis of imagination. So I thought I'd call up one of the coolest people I've ever met, Imi. She has a channel called Sustainably Vegan and she is way more well versed on all of this stuff than me and has been immersed in it longer. So I thought I'd give her a video call and give her a virtual tour of my flat and see what kind of conversations came out of it. Obviously, I'm willing to have my wrist slapped. The wrist was there. Imi did not take that opportunity and she had some really interesting things to say about misconceptions around what we switch and why. My wrists were spared, my mind was filled with information, and I've already started to implement some of those changes, which I'm excited to share with you in later videos. We had an awesome and very interesting little tour of our 380 square feet flat. That is, at the moment, my whole world. Without further ado, here we go. Hello!
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay, how are you?
Do you know what, I was actually thinking earlier how long it has been since it was our coffee.
I know, but I also think that you might have been one of the last people that I went for coffee with before this all went down.
Same.
Well, I'm glad we can like do something together, even if it's not what we'd usually do. So, as the more astute among you might have noticed, this video was actually filmed last year in the first lockdown. That's because on Monday, I'm going to be uploading a video giving you my 1-year update on how I've been doing with all of Imi's tips and what I have learned. So make sure you hit that bell notification to make sure you are notified on Monday about that video. And if you're watching it in the past, the video is already linked. It exists and it's up here. Woo! Tell us a little bit about your channel and how it started, because I'm a big fan.
Okay, so I basically talk all about sustainability, and I very much exclusively talked about zero waste up until a couple of years ago when I really was like, zero waste is not that inclusive. Or is it? I don't think it is. The way it is right now, it's not that inclusive.
Yeah.
So then I was like, how can I, through my personal journey, get a bit more like, let's explore sustainability in other realms. Let's understand what intersectionality even means. Let's talk about books and learning and how we can all be better humans, but also understand not everyone can do everything.
Is it possible to be zero waste?
Well, no, obviously not, because 1, you have to have a lot of privilege. 2, you have to live in certain areas. 3, you have to live in specific climates. 2, you have 4, you have to live in like genuinely in a tiny house you've built yourself from scrap wood and live off the land, etc. So really it's just like this wonderful goal to kind of understand your place in sustainability, but at the same time I only really use those terms when thinking about like the YouTube algorithm, which I'm sure you...
Yeah, it's the thing that people will be searching for. You're like, I know what you were looking for. This isn't that. But it is. Yeah. I guess it's kind of like inbox zero. Just because you'll never get your inbox to zero doesn't mean you should stop like deleting all messages. You're like, I just won't use email because it's impossible.
I mean, that's exactly it.
And when did you start like altering your house? How long have you been living where you've been living? And when did you start like thinking about the stuff that was actually physically in your house?
I have been living in a little flat in London for like, it's got to be 5 years now, maybe. Genuinely, when I started to like look into zero waste, it's the most painful thing to watch my early videos. Like, I'm basically being like, let's go to a supermarket and this and see what we can do. But to be honest, I don't regret any of those things because by making thousands of mistakes, I've kind of found a path to what sustainability means to me, and then like try to help people figure out what it means for them as well. It's also hard when you live with people who don't really care about those things. And you have to kind of make them care by doing lots of things for them and realising, hey, you can save money this way. Hey, this lasts way longer this way.
It's like dangling something in front of them, like, look, it's also this.
Yeah, exactly. So it just starts with small things, and then eventually it just got kind of, well, it became my job, basically. So that's why I was like, well, I've got to...
Then you've really got to work at it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, very, 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 very gradual. And I'm by no means 100% zero waste. I mean, I still live in London. I live in a flat, in a block. Although we do use other people's heating because we're on the second floor, so it rises.
Yeah, we're on the top floor, so it's nice and toasty up here. I'm like, thanks, guys.
It's a never-ending journey. It's one of those things. You just aim to be more sustainable.
And do you think, like, so at the moment there's so many things that I was, like, planning to do that I now can't around waste. So I'm like, oh, I should really, like, go and fill up my jam jars with rice. And I'm like, the zero waste shop is, like, too far to be permitted, I think. So I guess there's stuff like that affects us in lockdown as well.
Yeah, I mean, I basically put up a video maybe last week or the week before being like, how to be sustainable during a pandemic. But, like, psych, because it's just not possible and you shouldn't care about that right now, and don't worry, it's not like up to you, and just ranted about billionaires and how really it's all their fault. And
sounds on brand. Sounds about right. Cool. Well, should we take a little look around my flat and let's see how I do?
Oh wait,
it's not going to be like Strictly Come Dancing where you're going to be like 7.
Damn, I wish I'd made those paddles. That would have been such a good idea.
So this is my hallway. I hope you can see this is my door. Hello. Very glam. So far, lots of personality. Really added my own touch. I think at the moment we have our gas and electricity with Eon. What's that face for? Is that bad?
Terrible.
Terrible. See, I inherited it from the last people that lived here, I think. But they were just like the easiest people to go with, and I, to be honest, didn't really think about it.
That's what they do. They basically increase the friction that would like enable you to actually leave, so that it's so much easier to stay. And then I think before, like, energy is not something people would necessarily question that much. But actually, it's one of the smallest changes that you can make that makes a massive difference, because if you think about where energy companies get all of their energy from, some of them are hybrids where they'll have like a certain amount invested in renewables, a certain amount in fossil fuels, but they'll like really amp up the green and be like, look how green and wonderful.
Oh really? Because I think Eon did have some stuff on their website that I was like, oh, that seems fine. But I didn't like know what the words meant. But who do you have energy with and why are you with them?
I use Octopus.energy, and that's because I actually found out about them a couple of years ago from a Madeline Olivia video.
Nice.
She worked with them. There are so many really, really good ones. Like, I think that Bulb are really good, People's Energy, Ecotricity. Ecotricity and actually Friends of the Earth are doing a campaign right now. And it's always nice to know that a company's been endorsed by a charity, an environmental charity.
Yeah.
and then Octopus Energy. I think those ones are the kind of the biggest ones at the moment that genuinely only either invest completely in renewable or are pretty much moving fully away. I think they are all, and they're also cheaper. They're supposed to be cheaper. Octopus was definitely cheaper when we moved.
Really? I suppose it depends on the kind of building you live in, but if we live in flats, then I'm assuming it's quite similar. This is my flashy basket where I keep headphones and wallets and paracetamol, just in case. Very, very scarce at the moment. But when we talk about wallets, segue. I bank with NatWest, I think, as like most millennials do, because they gave me a rail card 12 years ago.
Yeah, that was the same with me.
It's fine. I'll just keep going with that.
I've been moving away from them because, one, I think that people like Monzo and Starling are just generally more convenient, but they also happen to be more ethical. I think Starling is probably better than Monzo, but if you want like true ethical banking, then like your local credit unions and like, I think even Nationwide? No, not Nationwide, it's that other one. Oh, Triodos. Triodos are like the most ethical, and also I think actually Co-op are surprisingly ethical as well. It's because, especially NatWest, and why I really wanted to move away from them is because they heavily invest their money in fossil fuels and in arms, and obviously those are two things that I am not for. But they make it so easy if you want to change banks now. Banks make it seem as though it's the most difficult thing in the world, but if you go to like Starling or Triodos, whatever, they'll just do it all for you. But again, really and small thing that makes a big difference.
It's just something I don't spend that much time thinking about because I'm not really, like, I'm not somebody who's very interested in even my own personal finances. I'm just like, oh, I seem to have money. Okay, cool. Oh, that's a bit low. I'll stop spending money. That's the end. No spreadsheets for me. No. So I will definitely look into that too. Thank you so much. Would you like to see some more of my house?
Oh my god, please. I always see it in your videos.
So this is my bathroom. Welcome. My very flashy shower curtain that I sometimes take Instagram pictures in. But where should we look first? What do you think is the best place to look? Shower first? In the shower?
Yeah, let's look in the shower. Let's look at your products, your towel, all of that kind of stuff.
Oh my god, my towel, really?
There is such thing. Yeah.
This is my towel.
Love it.
It's from this great brand, Shriveled Label.
Yeah, but do you know what that says? That says you've had it for a long time.
That's true. It is pretty stiff. It's not the softest. Is that good?
The only reason I mention your towel is because obviously if you already have one, don't get rid of it and replace it. The best thing to do with sustainability is to use what you already have. But if you ever like need a new one, when you're looking at it, you should try and buy it from a company who's a B Corp. So they use cotton that is obviously like sustainably farmed, etc. If a company is a B Corp, then you know that they are like really sustainable and like ethical, and or not ethical, but like you know that they can be trusted to be farming sustainably. And then also I like on my one that my sister bought me for Christmas like 3 years ago, it also has a fair trade sticker on it as well. Yeah, so it's important to look for fair trade cotton as well as a B Corp company when looking at towels.
So it's like what it's made out of and who sewed it. They're the things we want to know. Okay, let's look at shower products. I've got a razor. This is my razor. So it is plastic. It's also quite gross, but hashtag unedited. I'm just going to show you. But it does have a removable head. So I'm not reusing the whole thing, but I'm aware that safety razors are a thing that I should probably use.
But if you already have one, then there is no need to like.
But then I have to keep buying the heads.
How often?
Well, how often do I really shave? Let's be real. Every 3. Well, I probably change it every like 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks?
Is that a lot or not a lot?
And you
I can't tell. But I have a lot of hair. I shave my face. I actually do. I shave my face every day. So you wouldn't necessarily say safety razor? Because I'm also quite clumsy and I'm worried about cutting my head off.
I think that people are more scared of them than they actually need to be. Okay. I think I've like nicked myself like twice in the whole, and I've had it for like 4 years. And I mean, I only changed the blade. I've only changed the blades like 3 or 4 times.
Really? That's really good.
Although when I was flying somewhere, very unsustainable, they made me take the razor out, and they were like, what is this? I was like, oh, it's a razor. And they were like, you can't have it. I was like, how about if I just take the blade out, and can I keep the razor? And they're like, okay, that's fine. And then I realized I hadn't like cleaned the razor, so I basically had to give him a blade with like all of my leg hair on it, and it was and he looked at me like I was just absolutely vile.
Sir, you're the one who wanted it.
And sir, you're the reason. Patriarchy is the reason why people shave. All right.
It's very true. It's you. It's a small revenge, but I'll take it. So I should look into a safety razor, but I think I should use up all of what I've got already.
Yes, of course. Always use what you already have first. And if you weren't changing the heads every 3 weeks, I would be like, oh, maybe you don't need to get a safety. I mean, no one needs a safety razor.
Yeah.
Use the same one like over and over and over again or whatever. But because you are changing them so often, in this instance, it might be a good idea to invest in one, because it will also save you a lot of money in the long run. Because how much money do you think you spend a year?
They're like £12 for like 3. It's an absolute rip-off. Like it's a mick take, and they get really blunt really fast, and they come in individual packages.
Okay. This is something that we can change.
You're like, no.
Only because when we're thinking about changes, you want to think about accessibility and priority. Like, obviously shaving is a priority to you. And considering you're willing to spend £12 on 3 heads.
It's a serious thing. You have to go to the super drug, like the counter, and they like keep it behind the counter. Like drugs.
My razor was £28, which is a lot. But considering I've used the same one for 4 years.
That's only like 2.5 of my razor heads though,
So for you, priority is high, accessibility is there, you've got to do it.
So I can clearly, that makes sense. On it. I'll send you a picture of my safety razor. Or maybe not me like live shaving. I'll save you that. You're like, whatever proves it. Cool. And then also in my shower, I've got, I've had this for years, but it's plastic. But obviously I don't want to get rid of it because then it'd be in landfill. But then if it ever doesn't become unuseful, you're looking confused. If this ever isn't fit for purpose, I should replace it with something better.
Always, my only thing about those is I'm like, are they a bacteria breeding ground?
I mean, very likely. This probably has skin cells from like my 15-year-old self in it.
Definitely use it until it's come to the end of its life. And then if you really value something similar to that, I don't think there's any harm in rebuying the same thing if you genuinely get years and years and years and years of value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's affordable to you. But there are other options like loofahs, which are natural, which are actually plants.
I've seen them, yeah.
But if they don't work for you, then there's no point in getting it. It's kind of like with natural beauty and makeup. If you buy something that's like technically more sustainable, but you really don't like it and you're not going to use it, then there is no point. It's better for you to have bought that one that comes in plastic because you actually finish it. So with that loofah, if you love it.
I mean, love is a very strong word for what is essentially like a screwed up ball of skin. But it does make me feel clean. So maybe when it's done, I'll stop using it. But for now, it just exists, I guess. I did try shampoo bars. I found the Lush ones quite expensive for how fast they run out. And then I did find a brand like in my local supermarket that was like £2, but it would just dissolve in the shower after maybe 2 weeks it was gone. So in the end I did buy some shampoo again, but I have recently downloaded the app that you recommended. Fangirl. What's it called?
Code check. And
I did the barcode thing, and this came out as good. It wasn't the top, but it was 4 out of 5 or something like that. And it is no GMOs, is vegan, and the bottle is biodegradable.
Thoughts?
Never buy something that you just don't like. And obviously it's important, like if you have access to buying things that are not in plastic, you also have to argue about the resources, so like, and the usability. It's the whole nuanced thing. When I started my zero waste journey, I was like, no plastic ever. And you're like, actually, plastic can be good in some circumstances, although you should never say that because people don't like that.
Right, okay.
What's really good about this, about the Kochak app, is that it will tell you not only what's in it and if it's good for your skin, it can also give you like a rating on terms of if it has like microplastics in it or microbeads and stuff like that to avoid. People don't realise that there are lots of different things, but to be honest, I think if you use that and it's, you know, you're trying to be your best with like natural, or also hair's a very personal thing. Believe me, I've done the no poo, I've done the water only,
Vinegar.
I've done the vinegar, I've done the bicarb.
It's a lot.
It's not.
Actually, because you've got quite curly hair as well.
Oh yeah. You've gotta find something that works for you, as well as, I think a good in between would be if you could find a shampoo that you really liked, but you could refill. But those can again be quite expensive, but they will last longer than there's one shampoo bar that I tried that I actually really liked and seemed to last like 7 or 8 months.
I'll have a look and see if there's any like refillable things around. But for now, this is probably, having tried shampoo, it's probably the best I can do right now because it lasts so long. But we'll see. A full review, future review.
So I use the Who Gives a Crap people. But you use a different brand, don't you?
We actually use one of those little bidets called Aloe. I do like them though if you are a TP person, because you can, I used to use those, and you can reuse the paper. Like I use them for all my Christmas presents.
Yeah, I've done that. I've wrapped stuff in the... Okay, that's cool.
And they are a company that gives back. Like I love companies that actually give back some of their profits.
Yes.
So I'm giving you a good 9.5 out of 10 for these.
Okay, cool. And I buy them in huge bulk. Like I buy 48 rolls at a time.
Wow.
You're not fucking around. I got a delivery just before the shit hit the fan, quite literally the shit. So I have like quite a lot in my house. So okay. So we have three cupboards. This one is mine. And inside, I don't know what you can see. But I do have, so I've got this, which is a facial, takes your makeup off, and it's from the Body Shop, and it's in a tin.
Great.
And it's like a cleansing balm, and it really agrees with my skin.
Love it.
I think that's okay. This is my snore guard, so that I don't ruin my relationship with my snoring. Dating tips. This is my deodorant. It's the Clay Cure, and it's like a natural deodorant thing. I haven't scanned that, to be honest, but we'll find out, I guess.
It probably won't be on there because it's so like natural and new.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that's okay, and it's like not tested on animals, and it's in a tin.
I'm giving you a good rating for that. That looks good.
I do have some, I'm just using this up, but it is in a glass bottle, but I've got some dirty Max Factor foundation, but I guess it's in a bottle, so, but also, don't know about that.
As long as you're using it, as long as you get through it and then you make a better choice later.
I mean, I've had this for about 3 years, so I should probably get on with using it up.
Yeah.
It's actually really cool, like, Imi discovers that Lena is a goblin. And then I also have like a toning thing that's in a glass thing from the Body Shop. Do you like the Body Shop? Do you approve?
I think I used to like them until they got bought by someone, but now I'm not quite sure. I can't...
They got sold back. There's a big controversy. They got sold to L'Oreal, and then L'Oreal didn't want them and sold them on. So
now they're like owned by a good company again.
Oh, okay, and that, yeah, because I was confused. I was like, I thought we did like them, and then we didn't, but then I thought we liked them again.
It's kind of like being cool at school. It's like, do we like them, or are they a bitch? I can't remember. And it's like, oh no, they're cool again. They did something cool.
No, I like them. I like them.
That's cool. And then, so I think then I've got like a Lush Grease moisturising bar, and then I've also got some coconut or not oil, whatever it is, coconut stuff in there, butter. And then, so the one thing that I think probably could be improved in here is the toothpaste, which is just Colgate. I just have like Colgate ones. But I haven't really, like, I've tried the tablets from Lush before, but again, they were like they come in a plastic bottle and they were quite expensive. But what do you use? Do you have like a powder or something?
I mean, I've tried every zero waste toothpaste under the sun, and I categorically hate them all. And it's bad to say that because so many people really like them.
Huh? You've got a video on it, haven't you?
I think I've got a zero waste bathroom video where I talk about it.
Yeah, okay.
Because when I go to like a festival, which seems to be quite often, or if I ever travel, I use those Dent tabs with fluoride. I don't know if are you one of those people who's against fluoride?
I can't remember. I don't think so.
No, okay, good. We're not against fluoride.
No, I'm not.
Okay, good. I really like them for travel, but because I've had so many problems with my teeth, like I'm so like over the top about the things that I use. So the toothpaste that I use every day is kind of like this Aloe Dent one. So it's like natural and sustainable, but it does come in plastic packaging. But like for me, I'm willing to make that compromise, I guess. Yeah, because I don't know, I'm not a dentist and I trust my dentist. And like I'm happy to use those Dent tabs when I go, because I don't actually, it's hard to really know, isn't it? When there's not enough scientific research or understanding about these quite yet. So I think as long as you're using a better brand, like Tom's is a really good brand. And then there's one called like David's maybe in the US, that's a really good brand, but they're really expensive, that's my only thing.
So maybe I'll buy one but use less of it. I'll use it more sparingly.
Yeah.
At the moment I just fill my mouth with toothpaste. And then I also have a brush, what's this called? Bamboo.
I think they're all the same when it comes to those. Like, you know that they're bad if they sell like on Amazon or whatever. If they sell from like a proper company, then.
Yeah, I just got it from like an eco shop somewhere.
Oh yeah, then you're fine.
The bathroom is making me very claustrophobic, so let's leave. So this is our living room, welcome. Books are a good reason to use trees, so we don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Furniture? Do you want to look at furniture?
Yeah, tell me where you got it from. Any second hand, any heirlooms, tell me all.
So we did have loads of second-hand furniture that I got all from British Heart Foundation, and then none of it fit in the flat when we moved.
But I gave it back to British Heart Foundation, which was nice. But stuff that fit in the flat that we had to buy was these lovely chairs.
We did get these from IKEA, unfortunately, but I think there will be heirlooms and we'll use them forever, right?
Absolutely.
You better, because IKEA is the new fast fashion.
I mean, yeah. And then I did get this second-hand. This is a huge cabinet.
Oh, that's really nice.
It cost me 30 quid from British Heart Foundation, and they like delivered it as well. And it's got a little coop for chickens at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that.
Love it.
You know that's somebody's A-level product design thing, right?
Craig
it's
thinks
an antique. I'm like, it's definitely not.
I personally think it's from 16th century Rome, and Craig thinks that somebody made it in their DT class.
What can you do? And then the other thing is shoes. So this is our shoe rack.
I've got a few like second-hand shoes, but I don't know how hygienic that is. But I do fully buy second-hand shoes sometimes.
Oh, yeah, me too. I don't care about that shit.
Shoes are ancient as well.
Yeah, all of my shoes are really old, Craig's commentary is.
Well, like, do you have any recommendations for shoe brands if I did need more shoes?
I think the two shoe brands that really are kind of like defying all odds in the shoe industry are this, I think they're American or they're Canadian, they're called Allbirds. Mm-hmm. And then also Veja or Veja.
Oh, and they've got like a V on the side where the Adidas would be.
Yeah.
But you can tell I've already been brainwashed by brands because I'm like, oh yeah, where Adidas put their logo.
Yeah, exactly, because they are like radically transparent, and if you watch their kind of ad video, what they did for Fashion Revolution, they are basically just an amazing company, and I think when we talk about radical transparency, it's also important to like see that in action, not for them just say they're transparent, like with the whole H&M debacle last week, which was embarrassing. It depends. I don't know if you're plant-based or whatever, or if you care about leather.
I do. I think I'm starting to care about leather. I buy second-hand leather. So I bought like these recently from Depop that are second-hand. And they're Doc Martens.
Oh my god, cool.
But then my other Doc Martens are plastic. But then I don't know how do you have any feelings about that? Because if they're vegan, then they're made out of like synthetic plastic.
Yeah, I personally don't like those because I think that they are just completely against... I mean, those are cool, I won't lie. They are cool.
But they don't wear very well. They're already wearing away.
See, I have the vegan Doc Martens shoes and I've had them for like 4 years and mine haven't worn at all. So it's one of those things where you're like... Vegan plastic is probably worse for the environment, but they probably last a little bit. But then I have no personal problem with buying secondhand leather because I think, one, you're giving it a new life, you're sending something less to landfill. And also, let's be honest, they're going to last a really, really, really long time, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
The only problem I would have is like secondhand fur or something, or like any fur, like that kind of...
It's creepy.
Is the ick factor for me, yeah.
Also just like a molting dead animal on you, because it still molts, doesn't it? Like it's alive. Anyway, it's a whole thing. Like Cruella de Vil life. So where do you want to look first in the kitchen? What do you think's a good place to start?
I think the most important thing in your kitchen, rather than like utensils and shit like that, is just what you eat, because it's something you do every day.
Fair play. Fridge dance. Here we are. So the magic happens. I don't know how to angle. I can't like put you in the fridge. My situation is I'm trying to give up meat, and I pretty much have, I think. Every now and then I have a can of tuna, I'm not gonna lie to you, Mimi.
That's right.
Just one can. Gives me energy. But I don't really have dairy that much anyway, like for years and years and years. I've just like transferred from, so I already have the Alpro soya.
What?
And then Alpro yogurts galore. Well, they're obviously still in plastic, but like, what else? But I do really love cheese, so that's my one thing that I'm like, it's a vice that I'm... And I was buying vegan cheese for a little bit, but then the vegan cheese shop is now far away. So, we've got some Cathedral City. And then I also have, so I've also got like a lot of fruit, but it's in packaging, much hummus. And then I also recently did the Odd Box, have you heard of them? Like the...
Have I heard of them?
I'm the queen of them.
I am the queen of Oddbox.
I'm literally, it's my second week of Oddbox. It's very exciting. So I have some like a huge, but also do you ever find they give you stuff that you're like, what do I do with this? So it's cabbage soup for 3 weeks, I guess.
You can make a whole baked cabbage. That's something you could do with that.
And cabbage cake.
Before we say anything bad, like big kudos for Oddbox, because you might think that you're just doing this one good thing, like, oh, getting my unpackaged veggies or whatever, but like that extends so far because all of the food that they get would have been wasted and churned back into the ground by their farmers, or they wouldn't have got like a good decent price for those because they're like wonky or too small or too big. And actually the knock-on effect of helping those farmers by helping Oddbox is actually massive, because all the resources that go into those foods, it's just like just goes nowhere. Just poof, all the water, all the sun, all the labour just goes nowhere because they have to churn it back into the ground. And people think, oh, they're just churning it back into the ground. It's like, it's food. Why do
it's energy, yeah.
So I think you get big points for that. Don't downplay yourself.
I feel like I want to apologise. I'm like,
I've got some Alpro soy yogurts, but really, I'm trash.
I'm trash.
But yeah, it's weird with Oddbox as well, because I want to do another video on subscription services, but because you don't have to make the decision every time, it just happens to you, which is quite good. Yeah. But it also doesn't really feel like you're making a choice, but that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, because it also forces you to, one, learn about food, because everything is seasonal and it's local to the UK, I think. So you're forced to understand actually how does seasonality work in terms of food? What can I do with these weird things like a kohlrabi that I have no idea what else I would do with? And like it just makes you be imaginative and like learn about food as well. So there's like a double, triple bonus score there for you.
Double pedals. You've like done some videos on like not zero waste, like lower waste shops and stuff in London. So if those, I obviously also live in London, so I could go to those shops after lockdown.
They are expensive, so like that's one of the things I always say. If you can afford to do all of your shop there, then you should, so that those who can't afford to do it now eventually will be able to, and it will trickle down. If you can afford to only do 10% of your shop there, that's great. Or if you just choose one item that you eat loads of, like if you're a big rice eater, maybe just buy rice there. You don't have to buy everything from there to make a difference, because at the moment it's expensive, but hopefully in time it will become normal and accessible to everyone.
And I suppose if those shops do well, then the supermarkets might be a bit more like, oh, we should do this. And then it trickles down.
Exactly.
There's fairy, we could talk about fairy liquidy stuff.
Have you used your code check on Fairy Liquid?
No.
If you don't want to know, then don't do it. But if you want to know, it's not good.
I've got Co-op. I do like the Co-op because they don't test on animals.
Okay, that's
You're like, well done. This is the stuff we've got. But should I code check this and see?
Yeah, let's code check it and see.
Right now?
Yeah, do it right now. Let's do some live checking.
Oh, they've said that they're going to check the product and add it. They're like, we don't have this, but we're going to add it. And then I also use this for washing up instead of sponges.
I feel like I have that. Is that an eco scrubby?
Yeah, scrubby, that's the word.
And you can put them in the washing machine and stuff.
Yes, I think they're great. My sister bought one of those for us like genuinely 3 years ago, and we still use the same one. The only thing you could do, I think, with the liquids is in some health shops you can refill them and they're not actually that expensive at all. Or you can buy these little bars that's kind of like a soap bar but for dishes, and then you just scrub your scrubby on it, and then it kind of creates foam, and then you can use it, and then you end up using less.
Dissolve it under the tap and stuff.
Yeah, and it's quite good. It lasts quite a long time.
Did not know that. I'm going to get on that. The other thing, I guess, is that like coffee isn't that great for the environment. I know we do drink a lot of coffee, but I've got some loose leaf tea. So we've been using a loose leaf tea with these. Have you ever seen these before?
Yeah, my mum's got one of those.
You're like, yes, I have 10.
I was very excited by these. But yeah, do you have any thoughts on tea and coffee?
So I drink a lot of coffee as well. But the coffee that I buy, for example, there's a coffee roasters in London called Old Spike, and they're actually a social enterprise. So all of the money that they get funnels back into helping those who are affected by homelessness. And all of their coffee is like fair trade, I think, as fair as you can be. So I think sometimes it's good to just make the best choice that you can with what you have available. So like for me, that is more expensive, but because I know that coffee is something that is potentially can be incredibly unethical, and I like coffee, that's one of the things I'm willing to spend more money on, because I've made
it's like high impact, and it's like high impact for you because you love it.
Exactly. So it's like up there on the kind of priority, and then also very accessible to me. And the price point, yes, it's more, but because I can afford it, I feel like I should do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I do that. I definitely, the loose leaf tea we have is fair trade, and I buy it from our local coffee shop because I don't want them to die. So I like pop in on my way to the supermarket and I'm like, can I just have some packets of this? And then I run away.
But that's good though, because again, always helping small. If you can help small rather than buy like Sainsbury's own brand or whatever, you're still making a better choice.
But I don't really have a solution for the coffee, so that's good. So when we're free again, I might try those guys out when passing.
But I think one of the things to take away from this is that definitely celebrate the choices that you've already made, because there are only so many that you can do. And honestly, like a lot of the things you are doing, you seem to reuse and like use things for a really, really long time. And that's one of the best things that you can do. Like that's one of the core things to do with sustainability, is use what you have and use it for a long time. And Oddbox, yes, in London, they are great, very good.
Because I guess that's the thing, is that like when you're reusing stuff, it's like it doesn't feel, you don't get the adrenaline rush of having bought something. You're not like, yeah, I just did a thing, I really changed something visible. It's like you just carry on with your life.
Yeah. And you're not as susceptible to adverts because you're kind of shutting that part off, which is good.
Stay at home, save lives.
That's what I'm going to end the video on. It's just you doing that to the camera.
How did you like that? Was that helpful? Was that confusing? I'm going to leave as many links as possible to more information about the stuff we talked about in this video down there, including a link to Imi's channel. Please go and have a look at her stuff. Her videos have been instrumental in helping me learn more about what I don't know. You can subscribe to Imi here. You can watch my last video here. You can watch my Positive Panic series here. These videos are free to access, but if you want to be one of the beautiful, lovely people that make them possible, you can look into joining the Gumption Club here for as little as $1 per thing, or even $1 per month. You get added to a secret Facebook group full of like-minded, lovely, world-changing people, all of whom are cooler than me, a free poetry collection, a free audio short story, a free zine, and some buddies to help you think about the climate more. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, Frog Snog out. I can't reach. Fuck.